When you see this, do not pray. Run! Jesus warned us. What if Jesus told you not to pray? What if he said, don't stop to grab your coat, just run? This wasn't a parable. This wasn't a metaphor, because if you treat this like a story instead of a warning, you won't be ready when it hits. This was a real warning for a real moment. And if you don't know what to do when it happens, it might be too late. Today, I'm going to show you one of the most chilling warnings Jesus ever gave. A moment where heaven told earth, don't kneel, flee. But what could be so evil, so sudden, that even Jesus said not to pray? What kind of event could make the Son of God say that? It starts in the middle of the temple. What turned a sacred place into the deadliest trap of all? What was happening inside the temple that made Jesus sound the alarm before it even began? Because from the moment this begins, every second counts, and what you do next could mean everything. And once you see what he said to look for, you'll never look at the news the same way again. Jesus was sitting with his disciples on the Mount of Olives. Jesus told us to watch and pray. What do we watch? We cannot stand still and watch the clouds to wait for him to appear. That is not what he meant. He meant, keep an eye on what's going on in the world and see what signs I gave you to help you prepare. Signals are the signs. Now, in that passage, he gave 4 distinct signs of his coming. One of the 4 signs is already there, while the other 3 are not. That is why I say, we are in the beginning of the end times. Which one has already arrived? And what does that mean for the countdown? So, what exactly are these 4 signs he gave us? The first is clearly disasters in the world, and he mentions, for example, wars, famines, and earthquakes. These are certainly happening, but they have been happening for over 2,000 years. They are getting more intense. So we certainly are in this first sign. But as Jesus advises us, don't be alarmed. Don't be worried when you learn of a new war, a new tragedy, or a new famine breaking out. He said something astonishing. These are painful events, but they are not pangs of death. They are birth pains. So when you read of disasters in the media, these are the pains that mean something new is about to be born. This should completely change our attitude. We know what the world is coming to. We should not be alarmed or dismayed, not as worried as the world will be about these things. Disasters in the world are the pain of birth in a new world that is to be born. In short, Jesus' advice to us would be not to panic, not to be disturbed, but even to rejoice and say, these are all signs of something new happening. The second sign of his coming is not in the world, but in the church. Just as he divided the first sign into 3 parts, wars, earthquakes, and famines, he divides the second sign into 3 parts, all of which occur within the church. The first is persecution, that we will be hated in every nation. The second aspect of this sign would be a significant reduction in the church's size. Most people's love will grow cold. That's a very depressing sign. The big surprise in the third part of the sign is that the gospel will be preached to every racial group. That takes us to the third sign of the end times, which is Jerusalem's distress. Geographically, it will be very limited, but spiritually, its impact will shake the nations. The abomination of desolation. What exactly is this abomination, and has its foundation already been laid? Jesus referenced a future event in Daniel 9 verse 27 when speaking about the abomination of desolation in the Olivet discourse. If you don't recognize the sign, you'll walk right into the trap. In Matthew 24, verses 15 to 16, Jesus says, "So when you see the abomination of desolation, the appalling sacrilege that astonishes and makes desolate, spoken of by the prophet Daniel, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand, then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains for refuge." The Bible is a history book, but it is unique in comparison to any other history book found in public libraries. It covers the entire history of the earth, starting from its creation to its end. No other history book has been published which covers such a wide range of events on our planet. The Lord didn't reveal the future just to satisfy our curiosity, but rather to prepare us for what's to come, so that we won't be caught off guard or misunderstand it. It's important to be grateful that Jesus shared this knowledge with us so openly and honestly. The disciples came to Jesus secretly while he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, and Jesus spoke about the abomination of desolation. What is this abomination? And when can we expect this? Jesus warned that an event would occur in the temple that would cause people to detest and feel disgust or hatred. This event would lead to complete emptiness or destruction, also known as desolation. When this happens, the residents of Judea should seek cover without delay. Different translations refer to this event as the abomination that causes desolation, the sacrilegious object that causes desecration, or that horrible thing. The Amplified Bible explains that the abomination of desolation is the appalling sacrilege that astonishes and makes desolate. One sign stood above the rest. It would be the sign that separated the prepared from the perished. This isn't about speculation, it's about survival. One sign that meant danger was so close, there wouldn't be time for anything. What kind of danger moves so fast that even prayer would slow you down? Jesus says, when you see it, what are we supposed to look for, and will we recognize it when it comes? Not if, not maybe, but when. Jesus was pointing back to the book of Daniel, where a man would one day enter the temple of God and do something so evil, so wicked, that it would break the heart of heaven. This was not just a symbol, this was a moment in time, a visible, shocking event. This moment could be the first crack before the collapse, and Jesus said, when you see it, don't freeze, don't argue, don't try to save anything. The instinct to hold on might be the very thing that takes you down. Listen to Jesus' next words in Matthew 24. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains for refuge. Whoever is on the housetop must not go down to get the things that are in his house. Whoever is in the field must not turn back to get his coat. Can you feel the urgency? This isn't just about running. This is about surviving. Jesus was warning his people about something so swift and destructive that if you hesitated even for 1 second, you would not make it out. Not even time to grab your coat. Not even time to say goodbye. Not even time to whisper a prayer. Most people won't realize the danger until there's no time left to escape. But wait, why would Jesus, the Prince of Peace, say something like this? What you're about to hear might sound harsh, but it's your only lifeline. Why would he say, don't go back, don't even stop to pray? Because he knew what was coming. In the year 70 AD, just 40 years later, Roman armies surrounded the city. They broke through the gates. They set the temple on fire. Over 1 million people died. History already proved what happens when warnings are ignored. Disaster doesn't always come with a roar. It often walks in silently through the front gate. And those who didn't listen, those who stayed behind, they faced horror. Jesus wasn't being harsh. He was being merciful. And what he gave them, he gives us now if we're willing to see it. He gave them the exact sign to look for. He told them when to leave. But Jesus didn't stop there. He said in Matthew 24, "But woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babies in those days. Pray that your flight will not be in winter or on a Sabbath when travel is forbidden." Do you feel the emotion? He was thinking of the moms, the babies, the ones too slow to run. He was thinking of snow and cold and locked city gates. He was thinking about how fast evil can come when the people are still sleeping. In this passage, Jesus quotes Daniel's prophecies, and there is a character in Daniel's prophecies who is referred to as the abomination of desolation. Daniel mentions it 3 times. What does it all mean? What's the big deal? It's about a human being, a man, who establishes himself in the very city of God, calls himself God, and refuses to accept anyone else's will above his own. A tyrant whose arrival will have global ramifications, but who will be centered in Jerusalem, the city of God, the holy place. The prophet Daniel mentioned the abomination of desolation in 3 places. First, Daniel 9, verse 27. "And he will enter into a binding and irrevocable covenant with the many for 1 week, 7 years. But in the middle of the week he will stop the sacrifice and grain offering for the remaining 3½ years. And on the wing of abominations will come one who makes desolate, even until the complete destruction, one that is decreed, is poured out on the one who causes the horror." Second, Daniel 11, verse 31. "Armed forces of his will arise in Jerusalem and defile and desecrate the sanctuary, the spiritual stronghold, and will do away with the regular sacrifice," that is, the daily burnt offering. "And they will set up a pagan altar in the sanctuary, which is the abomination of desolation." The third time we see this abomination in the book of Daniel is Daniel 12, verse 11. "From the time that the regular sacrifice, that is, the daily burnt offering, is taken away and the abomination of desolation is set up, ruining the temple for worship of the true God, there will be 1,290 days. The phrasing of some translations suggests that the abomination of desolation is an object, while in others, it appears to be a person. For instance, "On the wing of abominations shall come one who makes desolate," Daniel 9:27. Regardless of whether the abomination of desolation is a person or a thing, Daniel predicted the following. Now you might be thinking, that was for back then. That was about Jerusalem. But let me tell you something. That same Jesus who warned them warns us too. Because there is another moment coming. A moment where the world will see something just as shocking, just as evil, just as dangerous. Revelation tells us there will be another abomination, another man who sets himself up as a god, and when the world sees it, it will have just moments to decide what to do. So Jesus says, stay awake, be ready, don't wait. But what exactly is this image of the beast? There are different beliefs about what the image of the beast could be. Some people think it might be a statue or a picture that appears to come to life and speak. Others believe it could be a supercomputer, holograms, human clones, a cyborg, or superhuman artificial intelligence. It may surprise you to know that this concept has been around for over 1,000 years and is still present in our world today. An image is a likeness or a resemblance, not an exact copy. Those who are alive during the tribulation should be watchful and recognize that the breaking of the covenant with Israel and the abomination of desolation will herald the beginning of the worst 3.5 years in history. See Matthew 24:21. Be always on the watch and pray that you may be able to escape all that is about to happen and that you may be able to stand before the Son of Man. Luke 21:36. In Matthew 24:16-20, Jesus spoke of the end-time abomination of desolation and warned that God's people would have to flee. According to him, shortly after the abomination of desolation is set up, there will be great tribulation. Verse 21. The abomination of desolation is a crucial prophetic marker to keep an eye on. It serves as a signal that the Great Tribulation, an unprecedented period of global war and suffering lasting for 3.5 years, is about to commence. This event carries significant importance, and it's crucial to be prepared for what lies ahead. When the abomination of desolation is set up, faithful Christians who are watching and strong in God's Spirit will understand what's happened and will know the time has come to flee. Though the Bible says some of God's people will be martyred, others will be protected. Revelation 12:11-17. What if one day the news showed a man standing in a holy place, doing the unthinkable? Would you know what it meant? Would you remember Jesus' words? Would you know this was the moment to run, to let go of everything, to obey without delay? Because sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is run. Not because you're scared, but because Jesus said to. Because he warned you in love. Because he already gave his life to save yours. Jesus ended this warning with one final truth. For at that time there will be a great tribulation, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever will again. And if those days of tribulation had not been cut short, no human life would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, God's chosen ones, those days will be shortened. This is not a drill. Jesus was not playing games. He saw the future, and he told us so we wouldn't have to fear it. We could prepare for it. This isn't about politics. This isn't about theories. This is about your soul, your family, your eternity. What would you do if you saw the sign? Would you run? Would you trust him? Jesus said, "Let the reader understand." Now, you've read it. Now, you know. Jesus never gave warnings to scare us. He gave them to prepare us so that when the world shakes, when the temple falls, when evil rises, some will run too late and discover the door is already shut. The final call has been given. What you do now is what you'll be remembered for. When you see this, do not pray. Run. Jesus warned us. The sharpest warnings are born from the deepest love, and you're hearing one now. Love sometimes sounds like warning because it knows what comes if we don't listen. Not because he doesn't love us, but because he loves us that much. Because the Bible isn't a book of fear, it's a guide for escape, and Jesus already made a way. Then Jesus says that the fourth sign of his coming will come immediately after that. So we shall know when he is coming. We shall be ready. When that sign comes, there will be no danger of false prophets or false messiahs. There will be no deception. It will be too quick. What will happen is that all natural light will be switched off. The sun will go dark. The stars will fall. There are many predictions of this all the way through the Bible. Isaiah predicts it. The heavens will be rolled up like a carpet. All the stars of heaven will be dissolved. The skies will be rolled up like a scroll, and all their stars will fall like withered leaves from the vine, like foliage from the fig tree, leaving only artificial light to illuminate the earth. What is happening? What is going on? People may ask. This is it, Christians will exclaim. The sun, stars, and moon stop shining right before that happens. God turns off the lights of heaven to prepare for the blaze of light from the lightning that will mark his return. Then he comes on the clouds back to planet Earth, and we meet him. We are not meeting in an earthly stadium because there isn't one large enough to accommodate such a large crowd. We'll reach him in the air, and that'll suffice. Isn't that a fantastic prospect? When you see all these things, you know he is at the gates, just about to walk through. He says. Then Jesus gives a very simple statement about a fig tree, and this is where many Christians have gone astray. He says, "Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near." Jesus is telling us that when you notice all these events happen, you know that we are there. Now, that analogy of the fig tree is not an allegory. It is a straightforward analogy from everyday experiences, such as Jesus often presented in his teaching. You see the fig tree doing this. You say the summer is coming, and it will come. In the same style, when you notice these 4 signs, you know that summer is coming. Sadly, people have read it as an allegory. When the Son of Man returns, it will be like it was in Noah's day. In those days before the flood, the people were enjoying banquets and parties and weddings right up to the time Noah entered his boat. People didn't realize what was going to happen until the flood came and swept them all away. That is the way it will be when the Son of Man comes. 2 men will be working together in the field. One will be taken, the other left. 2 women will be grinding flour at the mill. One will be taken, the other left. So you too must keep watch, for you don't know what day your Lord is coming. Understand this. If a homeowner knew exactly when a burglar was coming, he would keep watch and not permit his house to be broken into. You also must be ready all the time, for the Son of Man will come when least expected. A faithful, sensible servant is one to whom the master can give the responsibility of managing his other household servants and feeding them. If the master returns and finds that the servant has done a good job, there will be a reward. I tell you the truth, the master will put that servant in charge of all he owns. But what if the servant is evil and thinks, "My master won't be back for a while"? And he begins beating the other servants, partying, and getting drunk. The master will return unannounced and unexpected, and he will cut the servant to pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Matthew 24, verses 37 to 51. In the remainder of this sermon, Jesus goes on to 3 parables. Which are the wise virgins whose lamps were still burning when the bridegroom came, the foolish bridesmaids whose lamps had gone out, and the parable of the wise and foolish virgins. They had gone away to try to get some oil, but they had missed the bridegroom's arrival and thus were unable to attend the wedding. Then he moved on to the parable of the talents, in which some people received 10 talents, others 5, and then someone received none. The master left and returned, asking, "Now, what have you done with the talents I've left with you?" "I've got another 10, the man with 10 said. "I've got another 5, the man with 5 said. "I haven't done anything about it," said the man who had 1. "I buried it because I know you're a hard man who reaps where he hasn't sown and wants payment from me." What a horrible thing to say. We look at what Jesus said and what the master said to him after that. The final passage is not a parable, but rather a straight prediction involving an analogy of sheep and goats. He finished that parable with dividing nations, everybody, and telling them why he divided them, because those who are on his left hand are those who ignored Christ in Christians. Insofar as they didn't help the least of these, his brothers, they were doing it not to him. But to the people on his right, he said, "You saw Christ in my brethren, and inasmuch as you did it to the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me." He is not dividing people into those who did philanthropy and those who didn't. The key is the meaning of the word brethren. When Christ said brethren, he always meant his own followers, "Go and tell my brethren that I have risen from the dead." In the teaching of Jesus, brethren is a key word. It means those who follow me. He is simply saying, whatever you have done to Christians, or not done for them, was done to me, or for me, or not for me. Their attitude toward Christ is revealed by their attitude to Christians, and that is the principle on which they are divided. Now let us consider all that we have seen in the passage. First, there is a warning that nobody has God's diary, that not even Jesus knew the date of his return. Angels didn't know it, and no man knew it. We should have a healthy ignorance of the date of his return. Nearer the time, as we watch for the signs, we will know. Mark 13:32. No one knows about that day or hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Did you notice that one word appeared in all three parables? The parable of the home, the parable of the virgins, and the parable of the talents. The householder was a long time returning. The bridegroom was a long time coming. And the person who gave the talents was gone for a long time. He is looking for your faithfulness when he was away a long time. That is what he wants. He will say, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your Lord." There will be this separation in his coming between the faithful who have continued to do what he has left them to do, those who have every day remembered that he is coming back and who have kept to the job and endured the suffering and been his good and faithful servants, and those who, because he has not come soon, have fallen into bad ways. Their lamp has gone out, and they no longer shine for Jesus, and they have buried their talents. In the book of Proverbs, we are warned that where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. Proverbs 29:18. NIV, or perish. KJV. There are two main objectives of the end-time church. God has in view as he brings about the restoration of the church. Let's look first at God's purpose to restore unity to the church, or bring the church into unity. The church has a task to complete before Jesus can come back. Matthew 24:14 reads, "And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." All four gospels conclude with this commission to the apostles, and through them to the church universal. Disciples are to be made from every nation. It is God's desire and intention to have within his family humans from every tribe and language and people and nation. Revelation 5:9, 7:9. Revelation 5:9. And they sang a new song, saying, "You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, because you were slain, and with your blood you purchased for God persons from every tribe and language and people and nation." Revelation 7:9. After this, I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb. They were wearing white robes and were holding palm branches in their hands. Let us examine the great commission of Jesus Christ to his disciples after his resurrection. Jesus came and spoke to them, the disciples, saying, "Then Jesus came to them and said, 'All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age.'" Matthew 28:18-20. There is a critical word here, therefore. We must never ignore the word therefore when we find it in Scripture. When you find a therefore in the Bible, you need to ask what it's there for. Jesus says, "All authority has been given to me. Go therefore." Why therefore? The authority was given by God the Father to Jesus, the Son, after his death and resurrection. Jesus, in turn, here transmits that authority to his disciples. In other words, he is saying, "All authority was given to me. Now you go and exercise that authority on my behalf. The authority is vested in my name. As you go in my name, you have my authority." Authority is only effective when it is exercised. A man can have authority and never use it, and nobody would ever know that he had that authority. So it is with the authority Jesus Christ has given us. It is given to us, but it is only useful if we use it. The only way the world will acknowledge the authority given to Jesus Christ as a result of his death and resurrection is for us, his followers, to exercise it on his behalf. Otherwise, the world is unaware of what Jesus has accomplished. It does not know that the Father has committed all authority to the Son. Only through our obedience to the commission of Jesus can the world ever be brought face to face with the fact that there is a King of Kings, and a Lord of Lords whose name is Jesus, and all authority is given to him. We are accountable for demonstrating this to the world. As we obey Jesus' order and carry his message, he will validate it with the spiritual signs he promised and testify to his own authority in the word he has committed to us. There is one other reason why he says, "All authority is given to me. Go therefore." As a result, go therefore. There are several areas where traveling is extremely difficult. There are governments on the planet that oppose or refuse to preach the gospel. Today, there are many locked doors. But Jesus responds, "If you will go and follow me, remember that I have the authority. If you speak to me about it, I'll open those closed doors for you. You'll find a path where there isn't one. I will make it possible for you to follow me if you are willing to do so." The church's safety and progress are dependent on bold, optimistic outreach. That means not being afraid, not focusing solely on survival, and not hiding in a cave with some hoarded groceries. Bold, constructive outreach in obedience to the Lord is the path to safety and success. When we view the harvest from God's standpoint, we see that the initiative in world affairs is with the church. Seldom do God's people seem to realize that. The initiative is not about politicians, scientists, or military commanders, but about the people of God, the church. God will never allow the initiative to pass into other hands. While the church is here as the representative of his Son, Jesus Christ, the second task is the unity in the church. We must have the right relationship with the ministries, the authorities that Jesus establishes in his church. This will set us in the right relationship with our fellow believers. We will then speak the truth in love. And as we speak the truth in love, under discipline and authority, we will cease to be spiritually dull infants. We are growing up into Christ. He is always the ultimate objective. We become members of this whole body, which is fitted and held together by what every joint supplies, where every individual part does its proper job. As a result, the body naturally grows out of its own inner resources and life. It achieves the building up of itself in love.